Deep in the heart of the Arabian desert, where the winds whisper secrets of a forgotten time, lies the story of a civilization that thrived in the harshest of landscapes. The Nabateans, masters of trade and architecture, built a kingdom that defied the odds, carving their legacy into the very stones of Petra. But beyond their towering temples and intricate water systems, they guarded something even more extraordinary: 25 secret ceremonies, shrouded in mystery and steeped in spiritual power. These rituals, passed down through generations, were the heartbeat of their culture, connecting them to the divine, the natural world, and each other. Today, we embark on a journey to uncover these hidden practices, to step into the shadows of history and reveal the sacred traditions that shaped the Nabatean way of life. What secrets did they whisper under the desert moon? What truths did they seek in the flicker of sacred flames? Stay with us as we unlock the mysteries of the ancient Nabateans and bring their forgotten ceremonies back to light. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand their rituals but also glimpse the profound wisdom they left behind, wisdom that still echoes through the sands of time. Let's begin. Now, let us step into the first of these sacred ceremonies, a ritual that marked the beginning of one's journey into the heart of Nabatean life, the Initiation Rite of the desert. This ceremony was more than just a welcome. It was a profound transformation, a symbolic rebirth into the community. For the Nabateans, the desert was not just a harsh landscape but a teacher, a giver of life and a sacred space. The Initiation Rite was designed to connect new members to this powerful force, embedding them into the very fabric of their society. At the heart of this ritual were two elements that held deep spiritual meaning: sand and water. The sand, representing the vast, unyielding desert, was gathered from the dunes surrounding Petra. Each grain carried the essence of the land, a reminder of the challenges and resilience required to thrive in such an environment. The initiate would be anointed with this sand, a symbolic act of grounding them in the wisdom of the earth and the endurance of their ancestors. Water, on the other hand, was a rare and precious resource in the desert, a symbol of life and renewal. During the ceremony, the initiate would drink from a sacred vessel filled with water drawn from hidden springs. This act was not just about quenching thirst, but about internalizing the life-giving power of the desert, a reminder that even in the harshest conditions, life persists. The combination of sand and water created a powerful duality: strength and adaptability, endurance and renewal. The ceremony itself was a carefully orchestrated event led by the elders of the community. It began at dawn as the first light touched the horizon, symbolizing new beginnings. The initiate would stand at the center of a circle, surrounded by members of the tribe who chanted prayers and blessings. The elders would then perform the anointing with sand, followed by the offering of water. Finally, the initiate would take an oath, pledging loyalty to the tribe and vowing to uphold the values of the Nabatean way of life. This initiation rite was more than a formality. It was a spiritual awakening. It bound the individual to the community, to the land, and to the divine forces that governed their world. Through this ceremony, the Nabateans ensured that every new member understood the sacred connection between humanity, nature, and the unseen powers that shaped their existence. And so, with the grains of sand and the life-giving water, the initiate became one with the desert, ready to walk the path of their ancestors. As we move deeper into the mysteries of the Nabateans, we come to the second of their sacred ceremonies, the Moonlit Offering. This ritual was a profound expression of their reverence for the night sky and the celestial bodies that guided their lives. For the Nabateans, the moon was not just a distant orb in the heavens. It was a divine presence, a symbol of cycles, renewal, and the unseen forces that shaped their world. The Moonlit Offering took place during specific lunar phases, often aligning with the full moon when its light was brightest and most powerful. The ceremony was held in open spaces where the moon's glow could bathe the participants, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. The Nabateans believed that during these moments, the veil between the earthly and the divine was at its thinnest, allowing for direct communication with the gods. At the heart of this ritual were the offerings made to honor the moon and the celestial spirits. These offerings were carefully chosen to reflect the Nabateans' gratitude and their desire for blessings. Fruits, grains, and precious oils were laid out on stone altars, each item symbolizing abundance, fertility, and the gifts of the earth. Alongside these, small clay figurines representing animals and humans were placed, embodying the community's hopes and prayers for protection and prosperity. The ceremony began with a procession led by the priests and priestesses who carried torches to light the way. As they reached the altar, the participants would kneel, their faces turned upward to the moon. Chants and prayers filled the air, their rhythms echoing the cycles of the lunar phases. The priests would then anoint the offerings with sacred oils, a gesture meant to consecrate them and elevate their spiritual significance. One of the most striking aspects of the Moonlit Offering was the belief in the moon's ability to influence the natural world. The Nabateans saw the moon as a guardian of time, a celestial clock that governed the seasons, the tides, and even the growth of crops. By honoring the moon, they sought to align themselves with its rhythms, ensuring harmony and balance in their lives. This ceremony was not just an act of worship, it was a communal experience that strengthened the bonds between the people and the cosmos. Through the Moonlit Offering, the Nabateans reaffirmed their connection to the divine, their respect for the natural world, and their understanding of the intricate web of life that tied them to the stars above. And so, under the watchful gaze of the moon, they offered their prayers, their gifts, and their hearts, seeking guidance and blessings for the cycles yet to come. Now, as we step further into the enigmatic world of the Nabateans, we encounter the third of their sacred ceremonies, the Whispering Stones. This ritual was a deeply spiritual practice, rooted in the belief that the ancestors could communicate with the living through specially carved stones. For the Nabateans, these stones were not mere rocks. They were conduits to the past, bridges between the earthly realm and the world of those who had come before. The ceremony began with the selection of stones, each chosen for its unique shape, texture, and energy. These stones were often sourced from sacred sites, places believed to hold a special connection to the spiritual world. Once chosen, the stones were meticulously carved with symbols and inscriptions, each mark carrying a specific meaning or invoking the presence of a particular ancestor. The carvings were not random. They were carefully designed to align with the spiritual language of the Nabateans, a language understood by both the living and the dead. The tools used in this process were as significant as the stones themselves. Chisels made of bronze or iron, often adorned with sacred engravings, were used to etch the symbols into the stone. The act of carving was considered a sacred duty, performed by skilled artisans who were believed to be guided by the spirits of the ancestors. As the carver worked, they would chant prayers, infusing the stone with spiritual energy and preparing it for its role in the ceremony. When the stones were ready, they were placed in a circle, often within a secluded area of the desert or near a sacred spring. The participants, usually members of the community seeking guidance or blessings, would gather around the stones. The ceremony was led by a spiritual guide, often a priest or elder, who would begin by calling upon the ancestors. This invocation was done through a series of chants and prayers, each word carefully chosen to resonate with the spirits. As the chants grew louder, the participants would place their hands on the stones, closing their eyes and focusing their thoughts on the questions or messages they wished to convey. The Nabateans believed that the stones would whisper back, delivering answers or guidance from the ancestors. These messages were not heard with the ears but felt in the heart and mind, a subtle yet profound communication that transcended the physical world. The messages conveyed through the whispering stones were diverse, ranging from practical advice about harvests or trade routes to deeper spiritual insights about life and death. The Nabateans saw these messages as sacred, a direct link to the wisdom of those who had walked the earth before them. The ceremony concluded with a final prayer of gratitude, thanking the ancestors for their guidance and reaffirming the community's connection to their heritage. The Whispering Stones ceremony was more than a ritual. It was a testament to the Nabateans' belief in the enduring presence of their ancestors. Through these carved stones, they sought not only answers but also a sense of continuity, a reminder that the past was never truly lost. And so, under the vast desert sky, the stones whispered, carrying the voices of the past into the hearts of the living, bridging the gap between worlds in a timeless dance of memory and faith. Now, as we move deeper into the heart of Nabatean tradition, we arrive at the fourth of their sacred ceremonies, the Feast of the Eternal Flame. This grand event was a celebration of life, community, and the divine, all centered around a sacred fire that symbolized the eternal presence of the gods. The flame, carefully tended and never allowed to extinguish, was the focal point of the feast, a beacon of spiritual and physical warmth that brought the community together. The preparation for the Feast of the Eternal Flame was a communal effort, with every member of the tribe contributing in some way. The women would gather grains, fruits, and herbs, while the men hunted game or prepared livestock for the feast. The foods served were not just sustenance, they were offerings carefully selected to honor the gods and ancestors. Dishes included roasted meats seasoned with aromatic spices, flatbreads baked over open flames, and sweet dates drizzled with honey. Each bite was a tribute, a way of sharing the bounty of the earth with the divine. As the sun set and the stars began to appear, the community would gather around the sacred fire. The flames, crackling and dancing, cast a golden glow over the faces of the participants, creating an atmosphere of both reverence and joy. The ceremony began with a series of prayers led by the high priest, who would invoke the blessings of the gods and thank them for their guidance and protection. These prayers were often accompanied by the burning of incense, the fragrant smoke rising into the night sky as a symbolic offering. Once the prayers concluded, the feast would begin in earnest. Music filled the air, played on instruments like drums, flutes, and lyres, their melodies weaving through the night like threads of sound. The rhythm of the music inspired the dancers, who moved in intricate patterns around the fire, their bodies swaying and leaping in time with the beat. The dances were not just entertainment, they were a form of worship, a way of embodying the energy of the flame and channeling it into the community. As the night progressed, the feast became a time of storytelling and reflection. Elders would share tales of the tribe's history, recounting the deeds of great leaders and the wisdom of the ancestors. These stories were more than just entertainment, they were lessons passed down through generations to guide the living. The younger members of the tribe listened intently, absorbing the knowledge and values that would shape their own lives. The Feast of the Eternal Flame was not just a celebration of the present, it was a reaffirmation of the tribe's connection to the past and the future. The sacred fire, burning brightly at the center of it all, was a reminder of the enduring presence of the gods and the unbroken chain of life that linked the Nabateans to their ancestors. As the flames flickered and the night deepened, the community would join in a final prayer, their voices rising together in gratitude and hope. This ceremony was a testament to the Nabateans' belief in the power of unity, the importance of gratitude, and the eternal nature of the divine. Through the Feast of the Eternal Flame, they celebrated not just the abundance of the earth, but the enduring spirit of their people, a spirit that burned as brightly as the sacred fire itself. And so, under the vast desert sky, the flames danced on, a symbol of life, faith, and the unbreakable bonds of community. Now, as we step into the shadows of Nabatean spirituality, we encounter the fifth of their sacred ceremonies, the Veil of the High Priestess. This enigmatic ritual, shrouded in mystery and reverence, was a profound expression of the spiritual power held by women in Nabatean society. At its heart was the High Priestess, a figure of immense authority and wisdom, who guided the community through this deeply symbolic ceremony. The veil of the High Priestess was a ritual steeped in symbolism, with the veil itself serving as a powerful metaphor. It represented the boundary between the seen and the unseen, the mortal world and the divine. The High Priestess would don a finely woven veil, often adorned with intricate patterns and sacred symbols, as she prepared to commune with the gods. This act of veiling was not one of concealment but of transformation, marking her transition into a sacred role as a mediator between the earthly and the spiritual realms. The ceremony began in silence, the air thick with anticipation. The High Priestess would stand at the center of a sacred space surrounded by the community. As the first chants began, her voice rose above the stillness, a haunting melody that seemed to echo through the very stones of the desert. These chants, passed down through generations, were believed to carry the power to invoke the presence of the gods. Each word, each note, was carefully chosen to align with the rhythms of the cosmos, creating a bridge between the human and the divine. The role of women in Nabatean spirituality was central to this ceremony. The High Priestess was not merely a participant but a conduit, her presence essential to the ritual's success. Women in Nabatean society were often seen as the keepers of spiritual knowledge, their intuition and connection to the divine revered above all else. This ceremony was a testament to their vital role, a celebration of their ability to navigate the mysteries of the unseen world and bring its wisdom into the lives of the community. As the chants grew in intensity, the High Priestess would begin to move, her steps deliberate and graceful. Her dance was a form of prayer, each movement a gesture of devotion and supplication. The veil flowing around her seemed to take on a life of its own, its movements mirroring the ebb and flow of the spiritual energy she channeled. The community watched in awe, their own prayers mingling with hers as the veil became a symbol of the divine presence among them. The ceremony reached its climax as the High Priestess lifted the veil, revealing her face to the gods. This act was both an offering and a revelation, a moment of profound connection between the human and the divine. The community, moved by the power of the ritual, would join in a final chant, their voices rising together in a harmonious plea for guidance, protection, and blessing. The veil of the High Priestess was more than a ritual. It was a celebration of the sacred feminine, a recognition of the spiritual power that women held in Nabatean society. Through this ceremony, the community honored not only the High Priestess but the enduring legacy of women as spiritual leaders, healers, and guides. It was a reminder that the divine could be found not only in the vastness of the desert but in the wisdom and strength of those who walked its sands. As the echoes of the final chant faded into the night, the community would leave the sacred space with a renewed sense of connection to the divine and to one another. The veil of the High Priestess was a testament to the Nabateans' belief in the power of spirituality to unite, heal, and inspire, a belief that burned as brightly as the eternal flame itself. And so, under the watchful eyes of the stars, the veil remained, a symbol of the mysteries that lay just beyond the reach of sight, waiting to be unveiled. Now, as we move deeper into the heart of Nabatean spirituality, we come to the sixth of their sacred ceremonies, the Dance of the Sand Spirits. This vibrant and mesmerizing ritual was a celebration of the unseen forces believed to inhabit the desert, a way for the Nabateans to honor and connect with the spirits that shaped their world. The Dance of the Sand Spirits was not just a performance, it was a profound act of reverence, a bridge between the human and the mystical realms of the desert. The ceremony began at dusk as the sun dipped below the horizon and the desert cooled under the first light of the stars. The participants, adorned in elaborate costumes, would gather in a wide, open space, their attire designed to reflect the essence of the desert itself. The costumes were crafted from flowing fabrics dyed in earthy tones, shades of ochre, deep red, and sandy beige, mimicking the colors of the desert landscape. Intricate patterns resembling the ripples of sand dunes or the tracks of desert creatures were woven into the fabric, each design carrying its own symbolic meaning. The dancers also wore headdresses adorned with feathers, beads, and small mirrors, believed to catch the light of the stars and reflect the presence of the spirits. As the drummers took their places, the air filled with the rhythmic pulse of drums, their beats echoing the heartbeat of the desert. The music was both haunting and uplifting, a blend of deep, resonant tones and high, melodic notes played on flutes and stringed instruments. The rhythm was not random. It was carefully structured to mimic the natural sounds of the desert, the whisper of the wind, the rustle of sand, and the distant calls of nocturnal animals. This music was more than accompaniment. It was an invocation, a call to the spirits to join the dance. The dancers moved in unison, their steps precise and deliberate, yet fluid and graceful. Each movement was imbued with meaning, from the sweeping gestures of their arms, symbolizing the winds that shaped the dunes, to the delicate footwork that imitated the tracks of desert creatures. The dance was a story told through motion, a narrative of the desert's beauty, its challenges, and its mysteries. The dancers' bodies became vessels, channeling the energy of the spirits and translating it into a language of movement that the entire community could understand. At the heart of the dance was the belief in the sand spirits, ethereal beings thought to inhabit the desert, guiding its winds, shaping its sands, and influencing the lives of those who lived within it. The Nabateans saw these spirits not as distant or indifferent, but as active participants in their world, capable of both blessing and testing those who sought their favor. The dance of the sand spirits was a way to honor these beings, to thank them for their guidance and to seek their continued protection. As the dance reached its crescendo, the energy in the space became palpable. The dancers' movements grew more intense, their bodies swaying and spinning in a whirl of color and sound. The community, gathered around the edges of the dance space, would join in with clapping and chanting, their voices rising in harmony with the music. This collective participation was crucial, as it symbolized the unity between the human and the spiritual realms, a reminder that the desert spirits were not separate from the people but deeply intertwined with their lives. The ceremony concluded with a moment of stillness, the dancers coming to a halt as the final notes of the music faded into the night. The community would then offer small tokens of gratitude, pieces of bread, drops of water, or handfuls of sand, placing them at the edges of the dance space as offerings to the spirits. This act of giving was a gesture of reciprocity, a way to maintain the balance between the human and the spiritual worlds. The dance of the sand spirits was more than a ritual. It was a celebration of the desert itself, a recognition of its power and its mysteries. Through this ceremony, the Nabateans honored the spirits that shaped their world, finding in the dance a way to connect with the unseen forces that guided their lives. It was a reminder that the desert was not just a place of survival but a living, breathing entity filled with spirits that demanded respect and reverence. As the stars shone brightly overhead, the community would leave the dance space with a renewed sense of connection to the desert, to the spirits, and to one another. The dance of the sand spirits was a testament to the Nabateans' deep understanding of their environment, a celebration of the harmony they sought to maintain with the world around them. And so, under the vast expanse of the night sky, the dance remained, a timeless expression of gratitude and awe for the spirits of the sand. Now, as we step into the realm of the mystical and the prophetic, we encounter the seventh of the Nabateans' sacred ceremonies, the Oracle's Vision. This ceremony was a profound and enigmatic ritual where a chosen oracle would enter a trance-like state to commune with the divine and deliver prophecies that shaped the course of Nabatean life. The oracle's vision was not merely a performance of spiritual theatrics. It was a deeply revered practice, a conduit through which the Nabateans believed they could glimpse the will of the gods and the unfolding of their destiny. The preparation for this ceremony was as meticulous as it was sacred. The oracle, often a figure of great spiritual standing within the community, would undergo a period of purification lasting several days. This involved fasting, meditation, and the consumption of sacred herbs believed to open the mind to divine messages. The oracle would retreat to a secluded chamber, away from the distractions of daily life, to focus entirely on the spiritual task ahead. The chamber itself was a place of profound significance, often adorned with symbols of the gods and the cosmos, creating an atmosphere of otherworldly reverence. When the day of the ceremony arrived, the community would gather in hushed anticipation. The oracle, now prepared both physically and spiritually, would take their place at the center of the sacred space. The air was thick with the scent of burning incense, its smoke curling upward like a bridge between the earthly and the divine. The ceremony began with a series of chants and invocations, calling upon the gods to grant the oracle clarity and insight. These chants were not mere words, they were believed to carry a vibrational power capable of opening the gates between the human and the divine realms. As the chants reached their peak, the oracle would enter a trance state. This was a moment of transformation where the oracle's consciousness was believed to transcend the physical world and merge with the spiritual. Their body would grow still, their breathing slow and rhythmic, and their eyes would close as they surrendered to the visions that began to unfold within their mind. The trance was not a passive state, it was an active journey, a descent into the depths of the divine where the oracle would encounter messages, symbols, and prophecies. The visions that came to the oracle were often vivid and symbolic, requiring interpretation. They might see images of natural phenomena, storms, floods, or droughts, or encounters with divine beings who delivered cryptic messages. These visions were not always straightforward. They were layered with meaning, reflecting the complexity of the god's will. The oracle's role was to translate these visions into guidance for the community, offering insights into matters of governance, agriculture, warfare, and even personal decisions. The impact of these prophecies on Nabatean society was immense. The oracle's words were treated with the utmost respect, often influencing the decisions of leaders and the actions of the community. If the oracle foresaw a coming drought, the Nabateans would prepare by storing water and conserving resources. If a vision hinted at conflict, alliances might be forged or defenses strengthened. The prophecies were not seen as absolute decrees but as divine guidance, a way for the Nabateans to navigate the uncertainties of their world with a sense of purpose and direction. The ceremony concluded with a ritual of gratitude as the community offered prayers and gifts to the gods in thanks for the oracle's vision. The oracle, now emerging from the trance, would share the prophecies with the gathered crowd, their voice carrying the weight of divine authority. The community would listen intently, absorbing the messages and discussing their implications, ensuring that the guidance was integrated into their collective life. The oracle's vision was more than a ritual. It was a lifeline to the divine, a way for the Nabateans to seek clarity and direction in a world filled with mystery and unpredictability. Through this ceremony, they affirmed their belief in the interconnectedness of the human and the divine, trusting that the gods would guide them through the challenges of their existence. It was a testament to their faith, their ingenuity, and their deep reverence for the unseen forces that shaped their lives. As the echoes of the ceremony faded, the community would carry the oracle's words with them, a beacon of hope and wisdom in the vast expanse of the desert. The oracle's vision was a reminder that even in the face of uncertainty, the Nabateans were never truly alone. They were guided by the whispers of the gods, carried on the breath of the wind and the light of the stars. And so, under the watchful gaze of the heavens, the oracle's prophecies continued to shape the destiny of the Nabateans, one vision at a time. Now, as we move from the prophetic visions of the oracle to the heart of Nabatean unity, we arrive at the eighth ceremony, the binding of the tribes. This ritual was a cornerstone of Nabatean society, a powerful act of solidarity that brought together the diverse tribes scattered across the desert. In a land where survival often depended on cooperation, the binding of the tribes was more than just a ceremony. it was a lifeline, a way to strengthen bonds and ensure the collective prosperity of the people. The ceremony took place during a rare gathering of the tribes, often timed with significant celestial events like the alignment of stars or the appearance of a new moon. These moments were seen as auspicious, a sign from the gods that unity was not only possible but necessary. The tribes would converge at a sacred site, often a natural amphitheater carved into the desert rock, where the vastness of the landscape mirrored the enormity of their shared purpose. At the heart of the ceremony was the exchange of symbolic gestures and oaths. Each tribe would bring an offering, a piece of their land, a token of their craft, or a symbol of their identity. These offerings were placed together in a central altar, a physical representation of their combined strength. The act of placing these items side by side was deeply symbolic, a reminder that while each tribe had its own unique identity, they were stronger together. The oaths sworn during the ceremony were equally significant. Leaders from each tribe would step forward, their voices echoing across the gathering as they pledged loyalty, not just to their own people, but to the collective good of all Nabateans. These oaths were not taken lightly. They were binding promises sealed with rituals that invoked the gods as witnesses. One such ritual involved the tying of cords, where representatives from each tribe would intertwine strands of colored thread, symbolizing the unbreakable bond between them. These cords were then carried back to their respective tribes, serving as a tangible reminder of their shared commitment. The importance of unity in Nabatean society cannot be overstated. In a harsh and unpredictable environment, cooperation was not just a virtue, it was a necessity. The binding of the tribes reinforced this principle, reminding the people that their survival depended on their ability to work together. It was a ceremony that transcended individual differences, focusing instead on the common goals of peace, prosperity, and mutual support. The impact of this ceremony extended far beyond the ritual itself. In times of conflict, the oaths sworn during the binding of the tribes served as a powerful deterrent, reminding leaders of their obligations to one another. In times of scarcity, the bonds forged during the ceremony ensured that resources were shared equitably, preventing the kind of internal strife that could tear a society apart. And in times of celebration, the unity celebrated during the binding of the tribes allowed the Nabateans to come together in joy, their shared identity stronger than any division. As the ceremony drew to a close, the tribes would partake in a communal feast, sharing food, stories, and laughter. This was not just a celebration of their unity, but a reaffirmation of their shared humanity. The binding of the tribes was a reminder that despite their differences, the Nabateans were one people, bound together by their history, their faith, and their shared destiny. With the echoes of the ceremony still resonating in the desert air, the tribes would return to their homes, carrying with them the strength of their collective bond. The binding of the tribes was more than a ritual. It was a testament to the enduring power of unity, a lesson that would guide the Nabateans through the challenges of their existence. And as we turn our attention to the next ceremony, we'll explore how this spirit of cooperation extended even further, shaping the way the Nabateans navigated the vast and treacherous trade routes that connected their world. Now, as we journey from the unifying bonds of the tribes to the bustling trade routes that connected the Nabatean world, we arrive at the ninth ceremony, the blessing of the caravans. This ritual was a vital part of Nabatean life, as trade was the lifeblood of their civilization. The desert was not just a harsh landscape to survive in. It was also a vast network of opportunity, with caravans carrying precious goods like incense, spices, and textiles across great distances. But these journeys were fraught with danger, sandstorms, bandits, and the ever-present threat of losing one's way. The blessing of the caravans was a way to seek divine protection and ensure the safe passage of these vital expeditions. The ceremony began with the gathering of the caravan leaders, merchants, and their families at a sacred site near the edge of the desert. This location was often marked by a natural landmark, such as a towering rock formation or an ancient tree, believed to be imbued with spiritual energy. Here, the community would come together to invoke the favor of the gods, asking for guidance and protection for those about to embark on their perilous journeys. At the heart of the ritual were the prayers chanted in unison by a designated priest or priestess. These prayers were not mere words, they were believed to carry the power to sway the will of the gods. The chants often invoked deities associated with travel, such as the god of the winds or the goddess of the stars, asking for clear skies, safe paths, and bountiful trade. The rhythm of the chants, accompanied by the soft beat of drums, created an atmosphere of reverence and hope as the community poured their collective faith into the ceremony. Alongside the prayers, talismans played a crucial role in the blessing of the caravans. Each member of the caravan would receive a small, intricately crafted object, often made of stone, metal, or clay, inscribed with sacred symbols or blessings. These talismans were believed to carry the protective energy of the gods, shielding the travelers from harm. Some were shaped like animals, such as camels or falcons, symbolizing endurance and swiftness, while others bore geometric patterns representing the interconnectedness of all things. The talismans were worn or carried close to the body, serving as a constant reminder of the divine presence watching over the journey. Another key element of the ceremony was the offering of gifts to the gods. These offerings varied depending on the resources available, but often included incense, grains, or small tokens of wealth. The gifts were placed on an altar where they were believed to be received by the gods in exchange for their favor. The act of giving was seen as a gesture of gratitude and humility, acknowledging the gods' role in the success of the caravan. As the ceremony reached its climax, the caravan members would participate in a final ritual of purification. This involved the sprinkling of water, often drawn from a sacred spring, over the travelers and their animals. The water symbolized cleansing and renewal, washing away any lingering fears or doubts before the journey began. The priest or priestess would then offer a final blessing, calling upon the gods to guide the caravan safely to its destination and back home again. The blessing of the caravans was more than just a ritual, it was a profound expression of faith and community. It reminded the Nabateans that even in the face of uncertainty, they were not alone. The gods were with them, and so were their people, united in their hopes and prayers. This ceremony not only ensured the physical safety of the caravans, but also strengthened the spiritual bonds that held Nabatean society together. With the echoes of the prayers still lingering in the air, the caravans would set off into the desert, their talismans gleaming in the sunlight. The blessing of the caravans was a testament to the Nabateans' resilience and ingenuity, their ability to navigate both the physical and spiritual challenges of their world. And as we turn our attention to the next ceremony, we'll delve into a ritual that honored those who had come before, the Night of the Ancestors, a solemn event that connected the living with the wisdom of the past. As the caravans disappeared into the vast expanse of the desert, the Nabateans turned their attention inward to a ceremony that connected them with those who had come before. The Night of the Ancestors was a deeply solemn event, a time to honor the dead and seek their guidance. This ritual was not just about remembrance, it was a profound acknowledgement of the enduring bond between the living and those who had passed into the realm of the spirits. The ceremony began at dusk as the last light of the sun faded and the stars began to emerge. Families gathered in quiet reverence, often at the tombs or burial sites of their ancestors. These locations were considered sacred, places where the veil between the worlds was believed to be thinnest. The air was filled with a sense of quiet anticipation as the living prepared to commune with the spirits of their forebears. At the heart of the Night of the Ancestors were the offerings. These were not extravagant gifts but simple, heartfelt tokens of respect and love. Common offerings included food such as bread, fruits, or grains, as well as small personal items that had belonged to the deceased. These were carefully placed on altars or at the base of tombs, accompanied by whispered prayers and words of gratitude. The act of giving was seen as a way to nourish the spirits, ensuring their continued presence and favor. Candles played a central role in the ceremony, their flickering flames symbolizing the enduring light of the ancestors' wisdom. Each family would light a candle, often made from beeswax or animal fat, and place it near the offerings. The soft glow of the candles created an atmosphere of warmth and intimacy, as if the ancestors themselves were present, watching over their descendants. The light was also believed to guide the spirits, helping them find their way back to the world of the living, if only for a brief moment. As the night deepened, the community would come together to share stories and memories of their ancestors. These tales were not just about recounting the past, they were a way of keeping the spirits alive in the hearts and minds of the living. The stories often highlighted the virtues and achievements of the deceased, serving as both a tribute and a source of inspiration for future generations. Through these shared narratives, the ancestors' wisdom and values were passed down, ensuring their legacy endured. One of the most poignant moments of the Night of the Ancestors was the silent meditation. During this time, participants would close their eyes and focus on their connection to the spirits. It was believed that in this state of quiet reflection, the ancestors could communicate with the living, offering guidance, comfort, or warnings. Some would claim to hear whispers or feel a gentle touch, while others simply experienced a deep sense of peace and reassurance. This moment of communion was a powerful reminder that the ancestors were never truly gone. Their presence lingered, shaping the lives of those who remembered them. The ceremony concluded with a final prayer, a collective expression of gratitude and hope. The candles were left to burn down, their light gradually fading as the night wore on. The offerings remained at the tombs, a silent testament to the enduring bond between the living and the dead. As the families returned to their homes, they carried with them a renewed sense of connection, not just to their ancestors but to the broader tapestry of Nabatean history and identity. The Night of the Ancestors was more than a ritual of remembrance, it was a celebration of continuity. It reminded the Nabateans that they were part of a larger story, one that stretched back through generations and would continue long after they were gone. And as we move forward, we'll explore another ceremony that highlights the Nabateans' deep connection to the natural world, the ritual of the sacred spring, where water became a symbol of life, purification, and divine favor. As we step away from the quiet reverence of the Night of the Ancestors, we find ourselves drawn to the life-giving essence of water, a force that held profound meaning for the Nabateans. The ritual of the sacred spring was a celebration of this vital element, a ceremony that intertwined purification, gratitude, and spiritual connection. For the Nabateans, water was not just a resource, it was a sacred gift, a symbol of divine favor, and the very essence of life in the harsh desert landscape. The ceremony took place at a carefully chosen spring, often hidden within the rugged terrain of their territory. These springs were considered sacred, believed to be blessed by the gods themselves. The Nabateans saw water as a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a tangible manifestation of the gods' benevolence. The ritual of the sacred spring was a way to honor this gift and seek its continued blessing. The ceremony began with a procession to the spring, led by the community's spiritual leaders. Participants carried vessels made of clay or stone, each one carefully crafted and often adorned with symbols of life and renewal. As they approached the spring, the air was filled with a sense of anticipation and reverence. The sound of flowing water, so rare in the desert, created a soothing backdrop, setting the tone for the rituals to come. Purification was at the heart of the ceremony. Each participant would step forward to wash their hands and face in the cool, clear water of the spring. This act was not just about physical cleanliness, it was a symbolic cleansing of the spirit, a way to wash away impurities and prepare oneself to receive the blessings of the gods. The Nabateans believed that this ritual purification opened the door to divine favor, allowing them to approach the sacred with a clear heart and mind. Offerings played a central role in the ritual of the sacred spring. These were not grand or extravagant, but simple tokens of gratitude. Common offerings included small clay figurines, woven garlands, or even handfuls of grain. These items were carefully placed at the edge of the spring or floated gently on its surface, accompanied by whispered prayers of thanks. The act of giving was seen as a way to honor the gods and ensure the continued flow of water, both literally and spiritually. The spiritual significance of water in Nabatean culture cannot be overstated. In a land where water was scarce, its presence was a constant reminder of the gods' favor. The Nabateans believed that water carried the essence of life itself, a force that could heal, nourish, and renew. The ritual of the sacred spring was a way to acknowledge this power and seek its blessings for the community. It was also a reminder of their dependence on the natural world, a humbling acknowledgement of the delicate balance between human life and the forces of nature. As the ceremony drew to a close, the participants would gather around the spring to share a communal meal. This feast was a celebration of life and abundance, a way to give thanks for the blessings they had received. The food was simple but hearty, often featuring grains, fruits, and meats that had been prepared with care. The meal was accompanied by songs and dances, a joyful expression of gratitude and unity. The ritual of the sacred spring was more than just a ceremony. It was a profound expression of the Nabateans' relationship with the natural world. It reminded them of the sacredness of water, the lifeblood of their civilization, and the importance of living in harmony with the forces that sustain them. And as we move forward, we'll uncover another layer of Nabatean spirituality, a ceremony that brought the community together in a vibrant celebration of masks, music, and mystery. Now, as we leave the serene waters of the sacred spring behind, we step into a world of vibrant celebration and mystery. The masked revelry was one of the most anticipated events in the Nabatean calendar, a ceremony that transformed the community into a living tapestry of spirits, music, and movement. This was not just a festival, it was a profound expression of identity, connection, and the unseen forces that shaped their world. At the heart of the masked revelry were the masks themselves, each one a masterpiece of craftsmanship and symbolism. These masks were not mere decorations, they were sacred tools believed to allow the wearer to embody the spirits they represented. Crafted from materials like wood, clay, and leather, the masks were often adorned with intricate carvings, feathers, and beads, each detail carrying its own meaning. Some masks depicted animals, symbolizing the strength and wisdom of the natural world, while others represented ancestral spirits or deities, serving as a bridge between the living and the divine. The preparation for the ceremony was a communal effort, with families and artisans working together to create the masks. This process was as much a part of the ritual as the event itself, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose. As the day of the revelry approached, the air buzzed with excitement, and the masks were carefully stored, awaiting their moment to come alive. When the night of the ceremony arrived, the community gathered in a central space, often illuminated by the soft glow of torches and the light of the moon. The participants, now adorned in their masks, moved with a sense of transformation, their identities temporarily set aside as they became vessels for the spirits they embodied. The masks were not just worn, they were inhabited, each movement and gesture guided by the essence of the spirit within. The dances of the masked revelry were a mesmerizing blend of rhythm and ritual. Accompanied by the beat of drums, the strum of stringed instruments, and the haunting melodies of flutes, the dancers moved in patterns that mirrored the cycles of nature and the flow of life itself. Some dances were slow and deliberate, evoking the wisdom of the ancestors, while others were fast and energetic, celebrating the vitality of the present moment. The masks added an otherworldly quality to the movements, making it seem as though the spirits themselves had joined the celebration. The symbolism of the masks extended beyond the individual wearers. They represented the interconnectedness of all things: the living, the dead, the natural world, and the divine. By embodying these spirits, the Nabateans sought to honor and understand the forces that shaped their lives. The masks also served as a reminder of the duality of existence, the balance between light and dark, joy and sorrow, life and death. In wearing them, the participants embraced the full spectrum of human experience, finding unity in diversity and strength in connection. The communal joy of the masked revelry was palpable. Laughter, music, and the rhythmic pounding of feet filled the air, creating an atmosphere of celebration and belonging. For a brief time, the boundaries between individuals dissolved, and the community became one, united by the shared experience of the ceremony. This sense of unity was not just emotional, it was spiritual, a reaffirmation of their collective identity and their place within the larger tapestry of existence. As the night drew to a close, the masks were carefully removed, and the spirits they embodied were thanked and released. The participants returned to their everyday lives, but the experience of the revelry lingered, a reminder of the power of connection, the beauty of transformation, and the enduring presence of the unseen world. And as we move forward, we'll uncover yet another layer of Nabatean spirituality, a ceremony that wove the threads of fate itself, guiding the lives of those who participated in its mysteries. Now, as the echoes of the masked revelry fade, we step into a quieter, more introspective ceremony, one that delves into the very fabric of existence. The weaving of fate was a profound ritual that symbolized the interconnectedness of life, destiny, and the unseen forces that guided the Nabateans. This ceremony was not just about creating patterns with threads. It was a meditation on the paths we walk, the choices we make, and the unseen hands that shape our journey. At the heart of this ritual were the threads themselves, each one carefully chosen for its color, texture, and symbolic meaning. These threads were not ordinary. They were often dyed with natural pigments, some infused with herbs or oils believed to carry spiritual significance. The colors represented different aspects of life: red for passion and vitality, blue for wisdom and tranquility, green for growth and renewal, and black for the mysteries of the unknown. The threads were woven together on a simple loom, a tool that became a sacred instrument in the hands of the weavers. The preparation for the weaving of fate was a deeply personal process. Participants would spend days reflecting on their lives, their dreams, and their fears. They would then select threads that resonated with their experiences, each one a tangible representation of their hopes and struggles. The act of choosing the threads was itself a ritual, a moment of introspection and connection with the divine. When the ceremony began, the weavers would gather in a sacred space, often a quiet room or a secluded outdoor area. The loom was set up and the threads were laid out in a specific order, each one placed with intention and care. As the weaving commenced, the participants would chant softly, their voices blending into a harmonious rhythm. These chants were not random. They were ancient words passed down through generations, believed to invoke the guidance of the gods and the wisdom of the ancestors. The weaving itself was a slow, deliberate process. Each thread was carefully intertwined with the others, creating a pattern that was both unique and universal. The patterns were not just decorative, they were symbolic, representing the twists and turns of life, the connections between people, and the influence of fate. Some patterns were simple, reflecting a life of peace and stability, while others were complex, mirroring the challenges and triumphs of a more turbulent existence. The belief in fate was central to this ceremony. The Nabateans saw life as a tapestry woven from countless threads, each one representing a moment, a decision, or a relationship. They believed that while individuals had the power to shape their own paths, there were also larger forces at play, forces that guided and influenced the course of their lives. The weaving of fate was a way to honor these forces, to acknowledge their presence, and to seek their guidance. As the weaving progressed, the participants would often enter a meditative state, their hands moving almost instinctively as they focused on the threads before them. This state of mindfulness was seen as a form of communion with the divine, a way to align oneself with the greater flow of existence. The finished tapestry was not just a work of art, it was a sacred object, a visual representation of the weaver's journey and their connection to the cosmos. The ceremony concluded with a final chant, a prayer of gratitude and acceptance. The tapestry was then displayed in a place of honor, often in the weaver's home or a communal space, serving as a reminder of the ceremony's lessons. It was a symbol of resilience, of the beauty that emerges from the interplay of light and shadow, and of the enduring belief that every thread, no matter how small, has its place in the grand design. And as we move forward, we'll uncover yet another layer of Nabatean spirituality, a ceremony that reached for the stars, connecting the earthly realm with the vast mysteries of the cosmos. As we leave the intricate patterns of the weaving of fate behind, we now turn our gaze upward to the vast expanse of the night sky, where the Nabateans found both guidance and wonder. The chant of the stars was a ceremony that bridged the earthly and the celestial, a ritual that celebrated the Nabateans' profound connection to the cosmos and their deep understanding of the heavens. This ceremony took place under the open sky, often on clear nights when the stars shone brightest. The Nabateans were skilled astronomers, and their knowledge of the stars was not just practical, it was spiritual. They believed that the stars were more than distant lights. They were divine messengers, guiding forces that influenced both the natural world and human destiny. The chant of the stars was a way to honor these celestial beings, to seek their wisdom, and to align oneself with their rhythms. At the heart of the ceremony were the star charts, intricate maps of the night sky that the Nabateans had meticulously crafted over generations. These charts were not just tools for navigation, they were sacred texts filled with symbols and annotations that held deep spiritual meaning. Each star, constellation, and planetary alignment was believed to carry a message, a piece of the divine puzzle that the Nabateans sought to understand. The preparation for the chant of the stars was a communal effort. Participants would gather in a sacred space, often a high plateau or a specially designated area within their settlements. The star charts were laid out, and the night sky was observed with reverence. The ceremony began with a series of chants, ancient words that were believed to open a channel of communication between the earthly and the celestial realms. These chants were not random, they were carefully composed, each syllable carrying a specific vibration that resonated with the stars above. As the chants filled the air, the participants would begin to trace the patterns of the stars on their charts, their fingers moving in harmony with the rhythms of the night. This act of mapping was not just an intellectual exercise, it was a form of meditation, a way to connect with the divine order of the universe. The Nabateans believed that by aligning themselves with the stars, they could gain insight into their own lives, their communities, and the world around them. The ceremony also included offerings to the stars, small tokens of gratitude and reverence. These offerings were often simple, a handful of grains, a drop of water, or a piece of precious stone, but they were given with great intention. The Nabateans believed that these offerings would be carried by the stars, transformed into blessings that would return to them in the form of guidance, protection, and prosperity. One of the most fascinating aspects of the chant of the stars was the Nabateans' understanding of celestial cycles. They recognized the patterns of the stars, the movements of the planets, and the phases of the moon, and they used this knowledge to mark the passage of time, to predict the seasons, and to plan their rituals. This astronomical wisdom was not just practical, it was deeply spiritual, a way to live in harmony with the rhythms of the cosmos. As the ceremony reached its climax, the participants would often enter a state of deep meditation, their minds and spirits attuned to the vastness of the night sky. In this state, they believed they could receive messages from the stars, visions that would guide them in their daily lives and in their spiritual journeys. The chant of the stars was not just a ritual, it was a way of life, a reminder that we are all part of a larger, interconnected universe. And as the final chants faded into the night, the participants would leave the ceremony with a renewed sense of purpose, their hearts and minds aligned with the stars above. This connection to the cosmos was a cornerstone of Nabatean spirituality, a belief that the heavens were not distant and unreachable, but a living, breathing part of their world. Now, as we prepare to explore the next ceremony, we step into a celebration of abundance and gratitude, a ritual that honored the fruits of the earth and the blessings of the gods. As we transition from the celestial wonders of the chant of the stars, we now descend back to the earth, where the Nabateans celebrated the tangible fruits of their labor. The offering of the first harvest was a ceremony steeped in gratitude, a heartfelt acknowledgement of the land's bounty and the divine forces that made it possible. This ritual was not just a celebration of abundance, it was a profound expression of thanks to the gods for their generosity and a reminder of the delicate balance between humanity and nature. The ceremony took place at the end of the harvest season, when the fields were heavy with grain, the orchards laden with fruit, and the vineyards bursting with grapes. It was a time of plenty, and the Nabateans marked this moment with a grand feast that brought together the entire community. The centerpiece of the celebration was the offering of the first fruits and grains to the gods, a symbolic gesture that honored the cycle of life and the interconnectedness of all things. The preparation for the offering of the first harvest was a communal affair. Families would gather the finest produce from their fields, wheat, barley, figs, dates, and grapes, and bring them to a central altar. This altar, often located in a sacred grove or near a temple, was adorned with flowers, woven garlands, and small tokens of gratitude. The offerings were arranged with great care, each item placed in a way that reflected its significance. The Nabateans believed that the first fruits of the harvest were imbued with a special energy, a divine essence that made them worthy of being presented to the gods. The ceremony began with a series of prayers spoken in unison by the community. These prayers were not mere words, they were heartfelt expressions of thanks, acknowledging the gods' role in providing sustenance and ensuring the fertility of the land. The Nabateans believed that their prayers would rise like smoke, carried by the wind to the heavens, where they would be heard and answered. The tone of these prayers was one of humility and reverence, a recognition that the abundance they enjoyed was not solely the result of their own efforts but a gift from the divine. As the prayers concluded, the offerings were presented to the gods. This act was both symbolic and practical. By giving the first fruits of their labor, the Nabateans demonstrated their willingness to share their blessings and their trust that the gods would continue to provide. The offerings were often accompanied by small rituals, such as the pouring of wine or the burning of incense, which were believed to enhance the connection between the earthly and the divine. Following the offerings, the community would gather for a feast, a joyous celebration of the harvest success. The foods served were simple yet abundant, reflecting the season's bounty. Bread made from the newly harvested grain, fresh fruits, roasted meats, and sweet pastries were shared among the participants. The feast was not just a time for eating, it was a time for storytelling, music, and dance, a way to strengthen the bonds within the community and to express collective gratitude. One of the most poignant aspects of the offering of the first harvest was its emphasis on gratitude. The Nabateans understood that their survival depended on the land, and they saw the harvest as a partnership between human effort and divine favor. This ceremony was a reminder to remain humble, to recognize the role of the gods in their lives, and to approach the world with a sense of appreciation and respect. As the feast drew to a close, the participants would often take a moment to reflect on the year's journey, from the planting of seeds to the reaping of the harvest. They would offer silent prayers of thanks, not just for the food on their tables, but for the community that had worked together to bring it there. The offering of the first harvest was more than a ritual. It was a way of life, a practice that reinforced the values of gratitude, cooperation, and reverence for the natural world. With hearts full of thanks and spirits lifted by the celebration, the Nabateans would leave the ceremony ready to face the challenges of the coming year. knowing that they were supported by the gods and by each other. And as we prepare to explore the next ceremony, we step into a test of endurance and faith, a ritual that would push the limits of both body and spirit in the unforgiving desert. As we leave behind the gratitude-filled celebration of the offering of the first harvest, we now venture into the heart of the desert, where the Nabateans faced one of their most demanding trials. The trial of the desert was not just a physical challenge, it was a profound spiritual journey, a test of endurance, faith, and resilience that pushed participants to their limits and beyond. This ceremony was designed to strip away the comforts of daily life, forcing individuals to confront the raw power of the desert and their own inner strength. The trial of the desert began with a solemn procession into the wilderness. Participants, often young men and women on the cusp of adulthood, would leave behind their homes and families carrying only the bare essentials, a small amount of water, a cloak for protection against the sun, and a staff to aid their journey. The desert, with its endless dunes and scorching heat, was both a physical and metaphorical landscape representing the challenges and uncertainties of life. The Nabateans believed that by enduring the harshness of the desert, they could forge a deeper connection with the divine and gain wisdom that would guide them throughout their lives. The journey was grueling, with participants walking for days under the relentless sun. The heat was oppressive, the sand shifting beneath their feet, and the horizon seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. Water was scarce, and every sip was a precious resource, a reminder of the fragility of life. The Nabateans saw this scarcity not as a hardship but as a lesson in humility and gratitude, teaching them to appreciate even the smallest blessings. As the days passed, the physical challenges were compounded by the mental and emotional toll of the journey. The isolation of the desert, the silence broken only by the wind, forced participants to confront their fears, doubts, and insecurities. It was a time of deep introspection, a chance to reflect on their place in the world and their relationship with the gods. The Nabateans believed that the desert had a voice, a whisper that could only be heard in the stillness, and that those who listened carefully could receive guidance and clarity. The spiritual lessons of the trial of the desert were as important as the physical endurance it required. Participants learned the value of perseverance, the importance of trusting in the divine, and the strength that comes from within. They discovered that even in the harshest conditions, there was beauty and meaning to be found. The desert, with its stark landscapes and unforgiving climate, became a teacher, revealing truths about resilience, faith, and the interconnectedness of all life. At the end of the trial, those who completed the journey were welcomed back into the community with great honor. They were seen as having been transformed by their experience, having proven their strength and dedication. The rewards for completing the trial of the desert were both tangible and intangible. Participants were often given new responsibilities within the community, recognized as leaders and spiritual guides. But perhaps the greatest reward was the sense of accomplishment and the deep spiritual connection they had forged with the desert and the gods. The trial of the desert was more than a rite of passage. It was a profound expression of the Nabateans' relationship with their environment and their faith. It reminded them that life, like the desert, is full of challenges, but that these challenges are opportunities for growth and transformation. As we prepare to explore the next ceremony, we step into a world of sacred knowledge where the Nabateans preserved their most important texts in a ritual that honored the power of wisdom and the written word. As we step away from the transformative trials of the desert, we now enter a realm of reverence for wisdom and the written word. The binding of the sacred scrolls was a ceremony that held immense significance for the Nabateans, as it symbolized their commitment to preserving knowledge for future generations. This ritual was not merely about safeguarding texts. It was a sacred act that honored the power of learning and the divine wisdom believed to be contained within these scrolls. The ceremony began with a careful selection of materials. The Nabateans used the finest parchment, often made from animal skins, which were meticulously prepared to ensure durability. These scrolls were then inscribed with sacred texts, including religious teachings, historical records, and astronomical observations. The ink used was a special blend, crafted from natural pigments and resins, believed to carry spiritual significance. Each stroke of the pen was considered an act of devotion, as the scribes poured their reverence and skill into the creation of these texts. Once the scrolls were completed, they were treated with great care. The Nabateans believed that the written word was a bridge between the earthly and the divine, and thus the scrolls were handled with utmost respect. Before being sealed, the scrolls were anointed with oils and perfumes, a ritual meant to purify and protect them. This act was accompanied by chants and prayers, invoking the blessings of the gods to safeguard the knowledge contained within. The sealing of the scrolls was a ceremonial act in itself. They were wrapped in linen cloth, dyed in vibrant colors symbolizing different aspects of Nabatean spirituality. The cloth was then bound with cords made from plant fibers, intricately woven to create patterns that held symbolic meaning. Each knot tied in the cord was said to represent a prayer or a wish for the preservation of the knowledge. The bound scrolls were then placed in specially crafted containers, often made of clay or wood, and adorned with carvings and inscriptions that further emphasized their sacred nature. The importance of this ceremony cannot be overstated. For the Nabateans, knowledge was not just a tool for survival. It was a divine gift, a means of connecting with the gods and understanding the mysteries of the universe. The binding of the sacred scrolls was a way of ensuring that this wisdom would endure, passed down through the ages to guide and inspire future generations. It reflected their deep respect for learning and their belief in the enduring power of the written word. As we move forward, we will explore another fascinating aspect of Nabatean spirituality, where the winds themselves were honored as messengers of the divine. The dance of the four winds awaits, promising to reveal yet another layer of this ancient civilization's rich and intricate belief system. Now, let us turn our attention to the Dance of the Four Winds, a ceremony that celebrated the unseen yet powerful forces that shaped the Nabatean world. For the Nabateans, the winds were far more than natural phenomena. They were divine messengers carrying the will of the gods and influencing every aspect of life. This ritual was a vibrant expression of their reverence for these invisible forces, blending movement, music, and spirituality into a captivating performance. The Dance of the Four Winds began with a gathering of participants in an open space, often at the edge of the desert or near a sacred site. Dancers adorned themselves in flowing garments designed to mimic the movement of the wind. These costumes, dyed in shades of blue, white, and gold, shimmered as they caught the light, creating an ethereal effect. The dancers also wore headdresses adorned with feathers and bells, which added a rhythmic sound to their movements, echoing the whispers and howls of the wind. The dance itself was a carefully choreographed sequence, with each movement symbolizing a different wind. The north wind, often associated with strength and protection, was represented by bold, sweeping gestures. The south wind, believed to bring warmth and fertility, inspired gentle, flowing motions. The east wind, linked to new beginnings, was mirrored in quick, lively steps, while the west wind, thought to carry wisdom and reflection, was evoked through slow, deliberate movements. Together, these dances created a dynamic portrayal of the wind's influence on the land and the people. Music played a central role in the ceremony, with instruments crafted to mimic the sounds of the wind. Flutes made from reeds or bone produced haunting melodies that seemed to rise and fall like gusts of air. Drums covered with animal hides provided a steady rhythm, symbolizing the heartbeat of the earth. Rattles filled with seeds or small stones added a layer of texture, evoking the rustling of leaves in a breeze. The combination of these instruments created an immersive soundscape, transporting participants and observers alike into a state of spiritual connection. At the heart of the Dance of the Four Winds was the belief that the winds carried messages from the gods. The Nabateans saw these messages as guidance, warnings, or blessings, depending on the direction and intensity of the wind. By performing this ritual, they sought to honor the winds and ensure their favor, believing that a harmonious relationship with these forces would bring prosperity and protection to their community. As the ceremony reached its climax, the dancers would form a circle, symbolizing the unity of the four winds and their interconnectedness. This final act was accompanied by a collective chant, calling upon the winds to bless the land and its people. The ritual concluded with offerings of incense and flowers, left at the edges of the gathering space as a gesture of gratitude to the divine messengers. The dance of the four winds was more than a performance. It was a profound expression of the Nabateans' connection to the natural and spiritual worlds. Through this ceremony, they acknowledged the winds as vital forces, shaping their lives and guiding their destiny. As we prepare to explore the next ceremony, we will step into the shadows where another mysterious ritual awaits, one that honors the unseen spirits of the night. Now, as we step away from the wind-swept desert and into the shadows of the earth, we uncover the ritual of the hidden chamber, a ceremony shrouded in secrecy and steeped in mystery. Deep beneath the surface, the Nabateans carved out sacred spaces, hidden from the eyes of the world, where they conducted some of their most profound and enigmatic rituals. These underground chambers were not merely physical structures but gateways to the spiritual realm, designed to amplify the connection between the living and the divine. The architecture of these hidden chambers was a marvel of ancient engineering. Carved directly into the rock, the chambers were often accessed through narrow, winding passages that symbolized the journey into the unknown. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of gods, spirits, and celestial events. These carvings were not just decorative, they served as visual prayers, invoking the presence of the divine within the chamber. The ceilings were often domed, creating an echo that amplified the chants and prayers of the participants, making the space feel alive with spiritual energy. At the center of the chamber stood an altar crafted from the same stone as the walls. This altar was the focal point of the ritual, where offerings were placed and sacred objects were displayed. The Nabateans believed that the altar acted as a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, allowing them to communicate directly with the gods. Surrounding the altar were small niches, each holding a lamp filled with fragrant oils. When lit, these lamps cast flickering shadows on the walls, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that enhanced the sense of mystery and reverence. The ritual of the hidden chamber began with a procession of priests and priestesses who entered the chamber in silence, their footsteps echoing softly against the stone floor. They carried with them offerings of incense, flowers, and precious stones, each chosen for its symbolic meaning. The incense, made from rare desert herbs, was believed to purify the space and invite the presence of the gods. The flowers, often desert roses, symbolized the beauty and fragility of life, while the stones represented the enduring strength of the earth. Once the offerings were placed on the altar, the participants would begin a series of chants and prayers, their voices rising and falling in harmony with the echoes of the chamber. These chants were not random but carefully composed, each word chosen to invoke specific blessings or guidance from the gods. The Nabateans believed that the hidden chamber amplified their prayers, carrying them directly to the divine realm. As the ritual progressed, the participants would enter a meditative state, their minds focused on the spiritual connection they sought to strengthen. One of the most intriguing aspects of the ritual of the hidden chamber was the use of water. In some chambers, a small pool or basin was carved into the floor, filled with water collected from sacred springs. The Nabateans believed that this water held special properties, capable of revealing visions or messages from the gods. During the ritual, participants would dip their hands into the water, anointing themselves as a sign of purification and readiness to receive divine wisdom. The mysteries surrounding the hidden chamber extended beyond the rituals themselves. The Nabateans guarded the location of these chambers closely, sharing their secrets only with the most trusted members of their society. Even today, the exact purpose and full significance of these spaces remain a subject of speculation and wonder. Were they places of initiation where new members were welcomed into the inner circles of Nabatean spirituality? Or were they sanctuaries where the community sought refuge and guidance in times of crisis? The answers may lie buried in the sands of time, waiting to be uncovered. As we leave the hidden chamber and its secrets behind, we prepare to step into the light of the new moon, where another ceremony awaits, a celebration of renewal and the eternal cycle of life. As we emerge from the shadows of the hidden chamber, we find ourselves beneath the soft glow of the night sky, where the Nabateans gathered to celebrate the feast of the new moon. This ceremony, held at the first sighting of the new moon, was a time of renewal, reflection, and gratitude. The new moon symbolized a fresh beginning, a blank slate upon which the Nabateans could inscribe their hopes and dreams for the coming cycle. The Feast of the New Moon was a communal event, bringing together families and tribes to share in the blessings of the lunar cycle. The centerpiece of the celebration was a grand feast, featuring an array of foods carefully chosen for their symbolic meanings. Dates, a staple of the Nabatean diet, were prominently displayed, representing the sweetness of life and the abundance of the desert. Freshly baked bread, made from grains harvested under the previous moon, symbolized sustenance and the fruits of labor. Alongside these, dishes of roasted meats and vegetables were served, each ingredient selected to honor the earth's bounty and the gods who provided it. As the community gathered around the feast, prayers were offered to the moon goddess Al-Azhar, who was believed to govern the lunar cycles and bring light to the darkness. These prayers were not mere words but heartfelt expressions of gratitude and hope. The Nabateans thanked Al-Azhar for her guidance during the previous cycle and asked for her blessings in the days to come. The prayers were often accompanied by the burning of incense, its fragrant smoke rising into the night sky as an offering to the divine. The symbolism of renewal was woven into every aspect of the ceremony. The new moon, barely visible in the night sky, represented the potential for growth and transformation. Just as the moon would wax and grow fuller in the coming days, so too did the Nabateans believe their lives could expand and flourish. This belief was reflected in the rituals performed during the feast. Participants would light small oil lamps, placing them in a circle to mimic the moon's phases. As the lamps were lit, they recited affirmations of renewal, pledging to let go of past hardships and embrace the opportunities of the new cycle. Music and dance also played a vital role in the feast of the new moon. Drums and flutes filled the air with rhythmic melodies, while dancers moved in patterns that mirrored the moon's journey across the sky. These dances were not just entertainment but acts of devotion, their movements designed to honor the celestial rhythms that governed their lives. The community would often join in, their voices raised in song, creating a powerful sense of unity and shared purpose. One of the most poignant moments of the ceremony came at its conclusion, when participants would release small paper lanterns into the night sky. These lanterns, each carrying a written wish or prayer, floated upward, their light blending with the stars. The Nabateans believed that as the lanterns ascended, their prayers would be carried to the heavens where the gods would hear and answer them. It was a moment of hope and connection, a reminder that even in the vastness of the desert, they were never truly alone. The Feast of the New Moon was more than just a celebration. It was a reaffirmation of life's cyclical nature and the enduring power of hope. As the lanterns faded into the distance, the Nabateans would return to their homes, their hearts filled with a renewed sense of purpose and the knowledge that, like the moon, they too could rise again. With the echoes of the feast still lingering in the air, we now turn our attention to the next ceremony, where the desert itself offers its rarest gift, a symbol of beauty and resilience in the harshest of landscapes. As the glow of the Feast of the New Moon fades into memory, we now step into the heart of the desert, where the Nabateans performed one of their most sacred and visually stunning ceremonies, the offering of the desert rose. This ritual, deeply tied to the harsh yet beautiful landscape they called home, celebrated the resilience and rarity of the desert rose, a flower that blooms in the most unforgiving conditions. For the Nabateans, this flower was more than a natural wonder. It was a symbol of divine favor and the enduring spirit of life itself. The desert rose, with its delicate petals and hardy nature, was seen as a gift from the gods, a reminder that beauty could thrive even in the most barren places. The ceremony began with the careful gathering of these rare blooms, a task undertaken only by the most skilled and reverent members of the community. These individuals would venture deep into the desert, guided by the stars and their intimate knowledge of the land, to find the flowers at their peak. The act of harvesting was itself a ritual, accompanied by soft chants and prayers of gratitude to the earth for yielding such a precious offering. Once the desert roses were collected, they were brought to a sacred altar, often located near a natural spring or oasis. The altar, adorned with symbols of the gods, became the focal point of the ceremony. The roses were arranged in intricate patterns, their vibrant colors contrasting with the stark desert backdrop. This arrangement was not merely decorative, it was a visual representation of the Nabateans' belief in the harmony between life and the divine. Each petal, each stem, was placed with intention, creating a living tapestry that honored the gods and the natural world. The offering itself was accompanied by a series of prayers and chants, each word carefully chosen to express the community's reverence and gratitude. The prayers often invoked the names of deities associated with nature and fertility, such as Al-Azza and Dashara, asking for their continued blessings and protection. The chants, rhythmic and melodic, were believed to carry the prayers upward, bridging the gap between the earthly and the divine. As the voices of the participants rose and fell, the air seemed to hum with a sacred energy, connecting all present to something greater than themselves. One of the most striking aspects of the ceremony was the use of water, a precious resource in the desert. Small amounts of water were sprinkled over the roses, symbolizing the life-giving power of the gods and the hope for future abundance. This act was both practical and symbolic, as it ensured the flowers remained vibrant throughout the ritual, while also serving as a reminder of the delicate balance between life and the elements. The offering of the desert rose was not just a ritual of gratitude, it was also a moment of reflection. As the Nabateans stood before the altar, surrounded by the beauty of the flowers and the sounds of their prayers, they were reminded of their own resilience. Just as the desert rose thrived against all odds, so too did they find strength in their ability to endure and flourish in a challenging environment. This ceremony reinforced their connection to the land and their faith in the gods who watched over them. As the final prayers were spoken and the last petals arranged, the community would step back, their hearts filled with a sense of peace and renewal. The desert roses, now offered to the gods, stood as a testament to the enduring spirit of the Nabateans and their unwavering belief in the beauty and power of life itself. With the offering of the desert rose complete, we now prepare to explore the next ceremony, where the ancient Nabateans turned to the stars and the forgotten language of their ancestors to seek wisdom and guidance. As the echoes of the offering of the desert rose fade into the stillness of the desert night, we now turn our attention to a ceremony steeped in mystery and reverence, the chant of the forgotten tongue. This ritual, one of the most enigmatic of the Nabatean ceremonies, involved the use of an ancient language long lost to time, believed to hold immense spiritual power. For the Nabateans, these chants were not mere words, they were sacred vibrations, a bridge between the earthly realm and the divine. The chant of the forgotten tongue was performed by a select group of priests and priestesses, individuals who had spent years mastering the intricate pronunciations and rhythms of the ancient language. This language, unlike the everyday speech of the Nabateans, was said to have been handed down by the gods themselves. Each syllable, each intonation, was believed to carry a specific energy, capable of invoking blessings, protection, or even visions from the divine. The chants were often performed in secluded spaces such as hidden chambers or sacred groves, where the acoustics of the environment amplified their power. The meaning of the words in these chants remains a mystery to this day. Scholars have speculated that they may have been invocations of the gods, prayers for prosperity, or even incantations to ward off evil. What is clear, however, is that the Nabateans held these chants in the highest regard. The act of chanting was not just a recitation of words, it was a deeply spiritual practice requiring focus, discipline, and a profound connection to the divine. The priests and priestesses would often enter a meditative state, allowing the words to flow through them as if they were vessels for a higher power. The spiritual power attributed to these chants was immense. It was believed that the vibrations created by the chants could influence the natural world, bringing rain to parched lands, healing the sick, or even guiding the souls of the departed to the afterlife. The Nabateans saw these chants as a way to communicate directly with the gods, bypassing the limitations of human language and tapping into a universal source of wisdom and energy. The chants were often performed during times of great need, such as droughts, wars, or plagues, as a way to seek divine intervention. Preserving the chant of the forgotten tongue was a sacred duty. The knowledge of the ancient language was passed down orally from one generation to the next, with each new initiate undergoing rigorous training to ensure the chants were performed with absolute precision. This oral tradition was crucial as the Nabateans believed that writing down the chants would diminish their power. The spoken word, carried on the breath of the faithful, was seen as the purest form of communication with the divine. As the final notes of the chant would resonate through the air, the participants would often experience a profound sense of peace and connection. The ceremony was not just a ritual, it was a reminder of the enduring power of language, of the ability of words to transcend time and space, and of the deep spiritual bond between the Nabateans and their gods. With the echoes of the chant of the forgotten tongue still lingering, we now prepare to journey into the next ceremony where the Nabateans sought to connect with a mythical oasis, a place believed to be a gateway to the afterlife. As the echoes of the chant of the forgotten tongue fade into the vast silence of the desert, we now step into the realm of the eternal, a place where the boundaries between life and the afterlife blur. The ritual of the eternal oasis is one of the most profound and mystical ceremonies of the Nabateans, a ritual that centers around a mythical oasis believed to be a gateway to the divine realm beyond. This oasis, though unseen by most, was said to exist in a hidden corner of the desert, accessible only to those who had undergone rigorous spiritual preparation. The ceremony began with a pilgrimage, a journey through the harsh desert landscape, symbolizing the trials of life and the soul's quest for transcendence. Participants, often led by the high priestess, would travel for days, guided by the stars and their unwavering faith. The journey itself was a test of endurance and devotion, a reminder that the path to the divine was not easy but worth every step. Upon reaching the oasis, the participants would find themselves in a place of unparalleled beauty, a sanctuary of lush greenery, crystal-clear waters, and an otherworldly calm that seemed to defy the barrenness of the surrounding desert. At the heart of the oasis stood a sacred altar where offerings were made to honor the gods and seek their favor. These offerings were not mere tokens, they were deeply symbolic, representing the fruits of the Nabateans' labor and their gratitude for the blessings of life. Fruits, grains, and precious oils were laid upon the altar, accompanied by prayers and chants that echoed through the stillness of the oasis. The act of offering was seen as a way to give back to the divine, to acknowledge the interconnectedness of all life, and to prepare the soul for its eventual journey to the afterlife. The oasis itself was believed to be a liminal space, a threshold between the earthly realm and the divine. The Nabateans saw it as a place where the veil between worlds was at its thinnest, allowing for communication with ancestors and deities. During the ceremony, participants would often experience visions or receive messages from the beyond, believed to be guidance from those who had already crossed into the afterlife. These moments of revelation were deeply personal and transformative, offering clarity, comfort, and a sense of purpose to those who sought it. The ritual of the eternal oasis was not just about preparing for the afterlife, it was also a celebration of life itself. The lush surroundings of the oasis served as a reminder of the abundance and beauty that could be found even in the harshest of environments. The ceremony concluded with a feast where participants shared food and stories, strengthening their bonds as a community and reaffirming their connection to the divine. It was a moment of unity, gratitude, and hope, a reminder that life, in all its challenges and joys, was a sacred journey worth cherishing. As the final prayers were whispered and the last offerings placed upon the altar, the participants would leave the oasis with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of their place in the cosmos. The ritual of the eternal oasis was more than a ceremony. It was a profound spiritual experience, a bridge between worlds, and a testament to the enduring faith of the Nabateans. With the tranquility of the oasis still lingering in our thoughts, we now prepare to delve into the next ceremony, where shadows come alive and the Nabateans honor the spirits of the night. As the echoes of the eternal oasis fade into the stillness of the desert night, we now step into a realm where darkness takes on a life of its own. The Dance of the Shadows, the 24th ceremony of the Nabateans, was a mesmerizing ritual performed under the cloak of night to honor the spirits believed to dwell within the shadows. This ceremony was not just a dance, it was a profound act of reverence, a way to connect with the unseen forces that shaped their world. The Dance of the Shadows began as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie silhouettes across the desert sands. Participants, adorned in flowing black robes intricately embroidered with silver threads to mimic the shimmer of moonlight, gathered in a sacred circle. These costumes were designed to blend the dancers with the night itself, symbolizing their unity with the shadow spirits. The robes were often paired with masks carved from dark wood, each one uniquely crafted to represent a different spirit or ancestor. The masks were believed to channel the presence of these entities, allowing the dancers to embody their essence during the ritual. The dance itself was a series of fluid, deliberate movements, each step and gesture imbued with meaning. The dancers moved in unison, their bodies swaying and twisting as if guided by an invisible force. Their arms would stretch outward, mimicking the reaching shadows cast by the flickering firelight at the center of the circle. The rhythm of the dance was slow and hypnotic, accompanied by the haunting sounds of drums and flutes. The music, played by skilled musicians, was said to echo the whispers of the shadow spirits, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that enveloped the participants. For the Nabateans, shadows were more than just the absence of light. They were a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. Shadows were believed to hold the essence of those who had passed into the afterlife, as well as the presence of protective spirits who watched over the living. By dancing in honor of these shadows, the Nabateans sought to acknowledge and appease these spirits, ensuring their guidance and protection. The ceremony was also a reminder of the duality of existence, the interplay between light and dark, life and death, the seen and the unseen. The Dance of the Shadows was not merely a performance, it was a deeply spiritual experience. As the dancers moved, they would often enter a trance-like state, feeling the presence of the spirits around them. Some participants reported hearing whispers or seeing fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures, believed to be messages from the beyond. These moments of connection were seen as sacred, offering insight, comfort, and a sense of continuity between the living and the dead. As the final drumbeats echoed into the night and the dancers came to a halt, the ceremony concluded with a moment of silent reflection. The participants would remove their masks and bow their heads in gratitude, acknowledging the spirits who had joined them in the dance. The Dance of the Shadows was a powerful reminder of the mysteries that lay beyond the visible world, a celebration of the unseen forces that shaped their lives and a testament to the Nabateans' deep spiritual connection to the cosmos. With the shadows still lingering in the air, we now prepare to uncover the final ceremony, a ritual that brought closure to the year's spiritual journey and sealed the bond between the Nabateans and the divine. As the echoes of the dance of the shadows fade into the stillness of the desert night, we now arrive at the culmination of the Nabatean spiritual journey, the final blessing. This 25th and final ceremony was a profound and sacred ritual designed to bring closure to the year's spiritual endeavors and to seal the bond between the Nabateans and the divine. It was a moment of reflection, gratitude, and renewal, marking the end of one cycle and the hopeful beginning of another. The final blessing took place at dawn, a time symbolizing new beginnings and the promise of light after darkness. The entire community would gather in the heart of their sacred space, often a grand temple or an open courtyard surrounded by towering stone pillars. The air was thick with anticipation as the participants prepared to offer their final prayers and gestures of devotion. At the center of the gathering stood the high priest or priestess, adorned in ceremonial robes woven with threads of gold and silver, representing the unity of earth and sky. The ceremony began with a series of chants, each one carefully chosen to invoke the blessings of the gods and ancestors. These chants were not mere words, they were believed to carry the power to bridge the gap between the mortal and the divine. The high priest or priestess would lead the community in these prayers, their voice rising and falling in a rhythm that seemed to harmonize with the natural world. The participants would join in, their voices blending into a powerful chorus that echoed across the desert, carrying their hopes and gratitude to the heavens. Following the chants, the high priest or priestess would perform a series of symbolic gestures, each one imbued with deep meaning. One of the most significant was the lighting of a sacred flame, representing the eternal presence of the divine. This flame was kindled using a special blend of herbs and oils, and its light was said to purify the space and the souls of those present. The high priest or priestess would then pass the flame to the community, each person taking a moment to hold it and offer their own silent prayer. This act symbolized the sharing of divine blessings and the collective responsibility to carry the light forward into the coming year. Another key element of the final blessing was the offering of gifts to the gods. These gifts, often consisting of fruits, grains, and handcrafted items, were placed on a central altar. Each offering was accompanied by a personal prayer, a moment of reflection on the year that had passed and the hopes for the year to come. The act of giving was seen as a way to express gratitude and to seek continued favor from the divine. As the ceremony drew to a close, the high priest or priestess would deliver a final blessing, a powerful invocation that sealed the spiritual work of the year. This blessing was not just a wish for prosperity and protection. It was a reaffirmation of the community's connection to the divine and to each other. The participants would bow their heads in reverence, feeling a profound sense of closure and unity. The final blessing was more than just a ritual, it was a moment of collective renewal. It reminded the Nabateans of their shared purpose and the enduring presence of the divine in their lives. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, the community would disperse, carrying with them the light of the sacred flame and the blessings of the ceremony. This final act marked the end of their spiritual journey for the year, but also the beginning of a new chapter filled with hope and the promise of divine guidance. With the final blessing complete, we have now uncovered all 25 of the ancient Nabatean secret ceremonies. Each ritual, from the initiation rite of the desert to this concluding act, reveals a civilization deeply connected to the natural and spiritual worlds. These ceremonies were not just acts of devotion, they were a way of life, a testament to the Nabateans' profound understanding of the mysteries that surround us. What other secrets might this ancient people have left behind? The desert holds many stories, and perhaps in time more will come to light. As we bring our journey through the 25 secret ceremonies of the ancient Nabateans to a close, it's impossible not to marvel at the depth of their spiritual and cultural legacy. From the Initiation Rite of the desert, where new members were welcomed with the symbolic union of sand and water, to the final blessing, a sacred ritual of renewal and unity, each ceremony reveals a civilization deeply attuned to the rhythms of the natural and spiritual worlds. These rituals were not mere performances, they were the heartbeat of Nabatean life, weaving together their beliefs, their community, and their connection to the divine. The Nabatean ceremonies were a testament to their ingenuity and reverence. They honored the celestial with the Moonlit Offering, communed with their ancestors through the Whispering Stones, and celebrated life's abundance in the Feast of the Eternal Flame. They sought guidance from the oracle's vision, strengthened their bonds in the binding of the tribes, and ensured the safety of their caravans with the blessing of the caravans. Each ritual, whether grand or intimate, served a purpose, binding their society together and grounding them in a shared sense of purpose and spirituality. But what makes these ceremonies truly remarkable is how they reflect the Nabateans' understanding of the world around them. They saw the divine in the stars, the winds, and even the shadows. They believed in the power of water to purify, the flame to illuminate, and the dance to connect them to forces beyond their comprehension. These rituals were not just acts of faith, they were expressions of a profound relationship with the universe itself. As we reflect on these 25 ceremonies, one question lingers: what other mysteries did the Nabateans leave behind? The desert sands still hold countless secrets, and the ruins of their cities whisper stories yet untold. Could there be more rituals, more symbols, more insights into their way of life waiting to be discovered? The Nabateans were a people of great wisdom and creativity, and it's likely that their legacy extends far beyond what we've uncovered so far. What do you think? Are there aspects of Nabatean culture that intrigue you the most? Or perhaps you visited Petra or other Nabatean sites and felt the echoes of their ancient ceremonies. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspectives and theories. And if you're as fascinated by the Nabateans as I am, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an exploration into the mysteries of the past. Together, let's keep uncovering the stories that history has left for us to discover. Until next time, stay curious.